Parcells is the only guy I know that yelled at everybody, but when he yelled at Key came right back at him.
You want some more tweets, by the way? Chris said it's no surprise that Keyshawn disrespected his coaches.
I almost cursed just now. What's this dude's name?
It would be Chris.
Chris doesn't know anything about me and my relationship with my coaches. So, Chris, shut the hell up.
Hold up, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished? When I bought the ass tomorrow, y'all thought it was rented? Flexing on these, I'm like Papa on his finish. Double M, yeah,
It's Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, ESPN News. He's Jay Williams. He's Keyshawn Johnson. I'm Freddie Coleman. In 10 minutes, you're going to find out who said that Zach Wilson could be the next Patrick Mahomes. That comes your way in about 10 minutes. What's next for the Philadelphia 76ers? Could Ben Simmons be traded? He asked out of Philadelphia on Tuesday. Then Joel Embiid, he said, hey, if anything is a problem, I don't have a problem with Ben Simmons, period. It also goes back to when the Sixers blew a 2-1 series lead to the Atlanta Hawks in the Eastern Conference semifinals. And then Game 6 happened when they could have put away the series, and that didn't happen. And Joel Embiid said this, and he kind of mentioned but did not mention Ben Simmons.
I don't know how to say it, but I thought the turning point was just, we had an open shot, and we made one free throw, and we missed the other, and then they came down and scored, and we didn't get a good possession on the other end, and Trey came back and he made a three, and then from there down 4, and then it's on me. I turn the ball over and try to make something happen.
So here's my problem, because yesterday, Joel Embiid then tweeted, sources, trust me, bro. Stop using my name to push people's agendas. I love and hate drama. I love playing with Ben. Stats don't lie. He's an amazing player, and we all didn't get the job done. It's on me personally. I hope everyone is back because we know how good we can be and we can win. You see, I wish Joel Embiid said what he said yesterday at the post presser after they lost. Because what it seemed like to me is, even though he wants to make it seem like there's not a rift between him and Ben Simmons, he threw Ben Simmons under the bus after they lost that game. Now, look, in Game 4, they had an 18-point lead. In Game 5, they had a 26-point lead. In Game 7, they had 17 turnovers. Joel Embiid had 8. So as I understand that Ben Simmons didn't play to the level we expect him to play because he didn't shoot the rock, and there are big questions around Ben Simmons. I'm not saying that. But yesterday was the leader of the team that I think can go deep into the playoffs, because that's the type of accountability that Joel Embiid needs to have. Now, I talked to Rich Paul yesterday, and Rich Paul was like, look, we go anywhere but stay in Philly. That speaks volumes about how Ben Simmons sees Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers organization. It speaks for itself about what exists between those two.
Well, I don't know if we got no room for a young kid out west, though.
You got enough players with the Lakers,
west.
man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if we got room for a young pup, man. We old school with the Lakers right now. We don't, but Ben Simmons isn't. Look, man, sometimes you need a fresh start, and maybe his teammate Embiid feels a certain way, in private versus public. I don't know. I'm not that deep into the Philadelphia 76ers and what they got going on. I know one thing, though. Change of scenery sometimes goes a long ways in one's professional career. And if he feels that he wants out of Philadelphia, and Doc Rivers in the Philadelphia and Elton Brand and everybody should try and figure out how to make a move to move Ben Simmons so he can go on with his career and they can get the necessary assets back.
You can see a potential maybe three-way trade between Sacramento, the Warriors,
matching up salaries and everything.
Philadelphia, right? Between Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox, potentially draft picks. Wiseman is available as well, coming off an injury. Draft picks, Klay Thompson's coming back. There's a lot of moves that could be made, but look, if Ben Simmons found a way to get on the Warriors, watch out.
Well, Ben Simmons' biggest move, make a free throw.
Damn.
Seriously. You can't be a superstar if you don't have the ability to improve your game. So you can give
Shaq
me all the machinations, but Shaq was a dominant player.
Making free throws.
Those are dominant players. Ben Simmons is not a dominant player. If you're going to be dominant, make plays. Seriously. and you make plays the free throw line, or you find a way to make threes. If you're
Alan Kevin back with you. We're following a developing story in the NBA. Sixers star Joel Embiid tweeting a denial this morning of a reported rift between him and Ben Simmons. Earlier this week, USA Today and the Philadelphia Inquirer reported respectively that a rift between the two teammates is escalating and that Simmons told the team in a recent meeting that he wanted to be traded. Sources previously telling Adrian Wojnarowski that Simmons has sought a trade and that his agent and Sixers management met earlier this summer to discuss the All-Stars' future. Embiid tweeted multiple times, including something about his relationship with the fans of Philly earlier this morning. But the one that stood out is this, quote, "Sources, trust me, bro. Stop using my name to push people's agendas. I love and hate drama. I love playing with Ben. Stats don't lie. He's an amazing player, and we all didn't get the job done. It's on me personally. I hope everyone is back because we know we're good enough to win." NBA reporter Brian Windhorst joining us now with much more. Wendy, you can imagine how this is all playing out with a passionate fan base in Philly. The Sixers, they begin training camp on September 28th. What's the potential for a Ben Simmons holdout if he's still on the team?
It's very strong, Kevin. From what I have been told, Ben Simmons does not intend to return for training camp if he is not traded. He told as much to owner Josh Harris, who traveled out to Los Angeles last week for an in-person meeting, not over Zoom, with Daryl Morey and Doc Rivers. He is aware that he can be fined, and in fact, he can be fined $225,000 per day. NBA teams usually work 6 days a week. That means he could rack up $1.3 million per week in fines. But he is aware that his first paycheck isn't until November 15th. That is 10 weeks from now. And he believes that that is the window to get this done. He does not intend to play for the Sixers again. And that is the message he has delivered.
Okay, when you look at the contract, 4 years, $147 million left on his current deal. So what's the likelihood that a holdout would force the Sixers' hand to trade him?
Yeah, so if you're a Sixers fan, you say, well, what leverage does Ben Simmons have? He's not going to be a free agent anytime soon. We just can wait him out. The leverage is that he can make the Sixers very uncomfortable on a day-to-day basis. And this strategy has worked repeatedly in the NBA in the last few years. Jimmy Butler up in Minnesota. Last year, James Harden. A couple of Rich Paul clients have sat through training camp and contract disputes. J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson. All of those players had limited leverage and got what they wanted. So this is just following the path that if you don't have leverage, create your own. And that's what Simmons is doing. We'll see if he has the success those other players did.
Anthony Davis as well. And by the way, as you mentioned, Rich Paul, he is, of course, Ben Simmons is his client. Brian Windhorst with the very latest on the Simmons saga, which it feels like it's just beginning in Philadelphia.
Ever since the 76ers lost in the playoffs, Ben Simmons has been the person. He's been the person, the lightning rod for criticism that everyone is pointing to as the problem for the 76ers. He reportedly does not have contact with the team this offseason. Is there a chance, do you believe, that Ben Simmons will not report to camp? Could he hold out, or could this be like a James Harden situation? What do you think the future is with Simmons and the Sixers?
I think ultimately he ends up at camp. It's not in either side's best interest for him not to be at camp. It's definitely not in his best interest to do what James Harden did, and that's show up and be out of shape, because he's not a former MVP like James Harden is. So with that being said, I don't believe this deal happens this offseason, Jacoby. Now, the way you and I believe in Ben Simmons, we can't ignore the bizarre fourth quarter performances in the playoffs this year. And so he's gonna have to build that value back up. If I'm on the phone with you and you talk about give me a player and give me like 2 or 3 first-round picks, not after that series. Like we saw the Paul George deal, the Drew Holiday deal. Like there have been deals where multiple picks got exchanged, but not when they passing up layups in front of Trae Young at the hoop. So he's gonna have to build his value back up. They're not gonna wanna move him for less. So don't be surprised if this goes into training camp, if it goes into the season before he's actually moved.
Well, we will see what happens. I do believe he does get moved, but he might start the season on the 76ers. And every single August, I see the same thing, Jalen Rose. I see Ben Simmons on Instagram making three-pointers. Every single August, he is on the gram making three-pointers. I wouldn't mind if he actually did that during the season, because obviously unlocking a jump shot and his confidence internally and externally on the perimeter is important for him moving forward. The Los Angeles Lakers were put at number 3 in the NBA on the power rankings. The Bucks did win the championship, but you can't tell me that Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, and the rest of the Lakers should not be ahead of the Bucks on this power rankings, Mr. Rose.
So initially when you said third, I wasn't necessarily mad at it. And then I thought about why, and it totally makes sense. I want to remind you something.
Okay.
There's a valedictorian walking the face of the earth representing the king of the court in the NBA. You know what his name is? Giannis the Greek Freak Antetokounmpo. You saw what he just did in the finals?
Yes, I did.
Did you see what he just did in the finals?
Yes, I did.
You saw
Yes, I
Chris
did.
Middleton make a name for himself as a closer? You see Drew Holiday getting steals and locking down on D? You know they play in the Eastern Conference also, right? Which means 50 of their games are going to be against Eastern Conference foes. So therefore, they're number 2 because they're going to have a better regular season record than today your Los Angeles Lakers. Now, for the Nets, they right where they should be. The Bucks are as well. And don't be so upset about the Lakers not being 1 or 2. You just want them healthy at their Western Conference 3 seed or so when the playoffs start.
If you consider that all of the players are available and healthy, the Lakers have a better roster than the Bucks. And you mentioned the Nets at number 1. You remember, I'm old enough to remember, the Nets and the Bucks went to overtime in Game 7, and Kyrie wasn't even on the floor. The Lakers were one of the best teams in the Western Conference last year, regardless of record. They dealt with some injuries, and they added Russell Westbrook. They added a lot of other interesting pieces, too, like Malik Monk and Dwight Howard. They are going to dominate in the Western Conference, and they're also going to rest a lot. You know that LeBron James brought in Westbrook, so he said, you know what, I'll play about 70 games. I'll play about 70 games this year, and I'll give 12 just to Russ so he can score 30 and get the 15 assists and 15 rebounds. We know that's going to happen. Jalen Rose, would you, in your personal power rankings, put the Bucks ahead of the Lakers?
Yes, for the reasons I just told you. They play in the East. They are a younger group, which means they're going to value the regular season more. Their best player, Giannis, is extremely durable and dominant. He's only going to get better. You saw him making free throws, okay? That's just going to add to his arsenal. And so, yes, the power rankings got it right on that one. And you know what else I can't wait to see? A full season of the Nets. We only saw them less than 20 games last year. And you mentioned KD, the offseason salutatorian, the way he played in the playoffs, and then the way he played in the Olympics. But a healthy Kyrie and obviously James Harden starting the season in shape, that's going to be a marvel to watch.
Absolutely. It does feel like we are on a collision course like we were with the Cavs and the Warriors years between the